actually like works, just actually works. Like that's the problem. So there's so much speculation that everybody's speculating. They're all, looking for moonshots or whatever else. And I think it's a different category. I don't fit myself in with like, I feel like algo doesn't fit in with the rest of crypto at this point because everything has such a solid base.
I mean, I've been personally just making like memes about it. Like even for everyone that's been keeping up on Twitter, I've been making ramen memes daily about it. And I appreciate everyone sending messages about, if I need money. I'm just memeing though, just to let everyone know that's watching. I'm not really going broke, guys. I'm just out here joking about the price and making making light of the matter.
Yeah, I wanted to. Oh, you want to go, Monty? Go ahead.
I was just going to chime in and say, you know what? Like the price action. Yeah, I mean, in the short term, like, yeah, I think it's cool that we make fun of it a little bit and just make light of it because you're right. In the long term, I feel like in the next quarter, even if the overall market goes down, I feel like like Buffett says, when there's scared money, that's when you want to grow market share. And I feel like Algorand is poised to grow market share, not just market cap, but market share of the audience based on some of the other ASAs and projects that are coming out, which is going to help move our market cap up. Even if there's a bear market, I feel like we're poised to jump up like 10 spaces on the market cap chain, just because of what we've got going on.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Sense?
Yeah, oh yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we pulled like a Link did, like in between 2018 and 2019. Like in 2017, Link didn't even pump. It went from like 10 cents to like $1.10. And then after the bull market in 2017 was over, Link went from like, a few cents again to like, like $3 or $4. So, just because it's a bear market doesn't mean like every coin's going to go down. It really depends on the use case. And Link had a lot of use cases during the bear market, especially when more leveraging protocols and all that was being built.
Yeah, half of our liquidity is locked up in governance right now, right? So if all of these ASAs, if people want to get into those, we're going to have to get new money in order for people to invest in those projects. They're going to have to convert their ETH or BTC, and maybe they're going to look at their ETH and BTC as a depreciating asset, and they're going to say, well, shit, I need to go over here to Algorand because they're still growing. And if that starts a little bit of a wave, starts as a trickle and then just kind of picks up momentum, that could be very good for us.
Yeah, I want to pose this question to anyone listening and the hosts too. Kind of kick this Sunday call off with like, let's get some 2022 predictions. For what you think will happen in anything. It could be the general crypto market, could be ASAs, could be Algorand, NFTs, technology, world events, like kind of. What are all our feelings about 2022? And I invite anyone in the audience to kind of jump up and chime in and get some conversation going. Whoever wants to jump in first, go ahead. But yeah, what are we feeling for 2022? And like, what are some hot takes?
I believe we'll have a 10K bean in 2022.
10K coffee
bullish.
bean.
Okay.
$10,000 or algo?
$10,000 per bean.
That would be pretty sick, but I mean, maybe. I wouldn't be against it. Monty, what about you? What do you think?
I'm predicting a $10 algo, double-digit algo price.
Goodness, Monty.
Booyah!
I got here right at the right time,
Chris.
I guess.
Yeah, Chris, we're doing 2022 predictions.
We're just making irresponsible predictions, Chris. You want to chime in?
They don't have to be about price action, but people are going with price action, which is fine, totally fine. But what's your 2022 prediction?
I would say that a 2022 prediction is that a single application on Algorand will have, by the end of 2022, $2 billion of TVL.
I think that's very, very reasonable. I think that's very reasonable. I think it's not far away. I think there's going to be a huge TVL influx in the next like 3 months. Just a lot of hawks circling. I mean, I guess that's probably not sharks in the water. I guess is a good thing. People are noticing the potential. I think that's a good shout.
I mean, I might also be a little bit biased, but whatever.
Yeah, we all are. This is the AlgoFam chat, remember? I'm sure you know. John, what about you?
Hello. Let's go with ETH gains to 90% BTC dominance. I don't know if it flips it, but it gets close. And then I would predict another layer 1 goes over 100 billion market cap, whether that's Sol, AVAX, I'm not sure. Pray to God not Cardano. And I would predict for Algo we see around a 50 billion market cap. So I don't know what that puts the price up with the current supply, but maybe like $5-6, something like that. I think we see peak. And I also think we could nuke back to like 90 cents. So have some cash ready.
I mean, okay, this is going to sound very bullish, Algo, and I apologize if this sounds way too bullish, Algo. Is that so? I've been in crypto for a long time now, and I see what pushed these other, let's call them altcoins, even though I think that that's not being very fair, other than Bitcoin up, and it was TVL, it was volume, it was applications coming on their chains. It was actually, I would say, but it was mostly like investor institution money driven, which made the retailers react. I say that Algorand has all of that now, if not as much, more, and also more diversified. And I believe that, I know you called out AVAX and Sol. I believe that by the end of 2022, at the very least, Algo will be on top of both of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict which network effect takes over. Like, if people do start becoming more curious and venturing over, I'll give it to you. That could happen in, a 10-week span. Like the right influencers get on about Algo, and bye-bye.
I might have a little bit of extra knowledge than a lot of people, but I know firsthand the applications that are being built today and how far they are along because of my connection with Reach and my connection with Algorand. That we are knocking on the door of several applications that are extremely well backed, extremely well great teams, and there's going to be a switch that's flipped.
Chris, are you going to ETH Denver?
Yeah. I mean, I'm supposed to.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've had several inquiries, and a lot of folks from the ETH community have reached out, and they're like, "Hey, you should go here so we can have conversations." And I'm curious if the same thing is kind of happening to you, because I'm picking up on a lot of folks that are looking elsewhere right now, and a lot of that community has kind of figured out, okay, this is fizzling, or they see like it may be on a downtrend, and they're looking for other opportunities, other chains to jump into, and Algorand seems poised to pick up some of that steam.
Yeah, it is.
Algorand's also sponsoring ETH Denver, so which is really interesting. An ETH conference sponsored by a competitor. That seems like a power move.
So I've gone to now. This will be my third or fourth ETH Denver, and the only thing ETH really about it is the name. Near has sponsored it. Nervos has sponsored it. Several companies that would be considered competitors of Ethereum have sponsored it. ETH Denver isn't even connected to the ETH Foundation anymore. It's an independent organization that is really non-maxi, crypto forward. It is by far the best developer conference I've ever been to.
And it's wicked long. It goes on for like 10 or 12 days or something.
I think that's just a this year thing. Every previous year it's been 2-3 days. I think, and I also think that the main conference is going to be 2 or 3 days, but this is one of those things where there's so much interest that they decided to expand it to 12 days so that everybody else could create events as well. So when you go, there's this nonstop things. But I think the main ETH Denver is still just going to be like 2-3 days.
I had several people asking if I'm going to go. I think I might fly in real quick.
Jeff, what's your prediction for 2022?
Yeah, I'm kind of with some people here. I think $5 easy, $10 just on prediction, but really it comes back to these other ASAs, like something like a YLDY or whatever other tokens are going to be coming out. I want to see, like Chris said, how much value is going to be locked on chain. And I think that's, somebody said this earlier, like the merging of like the DeFi degens and like the Wall Street like people, like that's an interesting clash that's going to happen on Algo. And I feel like that's where the money and I guess the risk, the people trying new protocols and new dApps. And I think that's something that will be interesting to see. I'm curious to see how the dynamics play out.
Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting time when the Aeneas rewards launch. That kind of got pushed back because of the Tiny Man debacle. But once those launch and Tiny Man's back online, because the point of it was that those 3 companies that were in that program kind of work hand in hand, and without the DEX, which is such a critical part of it, it couldn't get off the ground. So that's kind of I think that's been like a pressure point within the Algo community for the past week and a half or so. A lot of impatient people, where the Aeneas rewards, I staked, I did this, I traded, I wrapped my Bitcoin stuff, like where's it at? So I think once those get going, it's going to be a real different environment on Algo. And I think I'm really excited to see like what happens when those kick off, like, later this month or whenever Tiny Man comes back online, or any other DEX really.
So my prediction is if there is zero development on Algo from this point till the end of the year, Algo will be valued around $8 or $9. But my real prediction is by Q4 of this year, one of the G20 countries will announce that they are piloting a CBDC on Algorand.
Yeah, I mean that would be a huge announcement, and they've talked about a lot of CBDC deals. I wish more information would come out about those. I mean, I'm sure it's really difficult. And same with the ISDA partnership, International Swaps and Derivatives Association, huge trading block, announced about 2 years ago, and kind of quiet on all fronts since. Eldar, DRM, big community member, always talks about that. I think that could be an interesting one. If that comes out as an announcement this year, it would definitely be massive.
The thing is, one of the things about governments is like yes, I agree that CBDCs are coming, and I know that they're working on pilots of with Algorand, but governments move slower than slow, and they have no incentive to make any noise about like what the technology they're building on top of. That'd be the only reason why I would say 2022 is not, because they don't give a shit if we care or we know.
That's an extremely valid point.
And actually, for the most part, it's actually probably beneficial if they don't tell anybody. So I'm sure that everybody that does know is on about the strictest NDAs that possibly could be. So if it does happen, great. But I would be surprised if an announcement came out. Not that it's not happening, but if an announcement came out, I'd be surprised.
I'm pretty new to being an Algo holder, but I don't want to. Well, I guess I am, but I don't want to spread any FUD. But what are your thoughts on the potential of a Tether fallout for 2022?
It doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't matter. It might. So, like, the way that I look at it is that it's been regulated. It's been analyzed. It's been audited by everybody that under the sun, and nothing's happened yet. If something does happen, I believe that money would actually transition over to another stablecoin. USDC has grown enough now that it's I could see that it could take a lot of that weight. I mean, it would be a scandal, and you probably see a little bit of dip, but at the end of the day, it would be a momentary thing.
Yeah, I would just say the liquidity fly into like USDC and UST, to be honest.
And XUSD,
Oh yes, of course XUSD.
So my 2022 take is that a lot of the all right, so I kind of break crypto down into like three groups. There's Bitcoin originally, Bitcoin forks and followers, and then Ethereum, and then like kind of now we're in like maybe the fourth generation of like L1 competitors, Sol, Loon, AVAX, Algo, etc. I think a lot of coins and a lot of projects and a lot of bag holders of those second generation coins, the Litecoins, the XRPs, the Doge of the world are going to be dead in the water. And I think there's going to be a huge migration of capital out of those coins and out of those projects into other things as people realize they can't keep tooting the same horn with nothing happening. So, what do you guys think about that? And
I agree with you, but
think there's billions of dollars to be migrated.
I think that everybody in the Algorand community gets that. I feel like the other people are going to wake up to it. I totally agree on that point. I would just think about the overall, like, the culture within the Algo community. I feel like the advertising thing, I'm curious what everybody's thoughts are about marketing and bringing, like, obviously, like that retail money on chain as well. How relevant does everybody here think that is?
What was the specific question, Jeff?
His question was, how relevant do you think Algorand's marketing? Huh? Jeff, you want to say your question again?
I think he's getting rugged.
Oh, he's getting rugged by Twitter Spaces.
I think his question was about marketing, obviously, and how important it would be for Algorand to essentially start marketing. I don't see very much Algorand marketing culturally at all. Obviously, they're sponsoring that event in Denver. But as far as cultural penetration, or at least penetration on crypto Twitter, it's almost non-existent.
Well, here's the thing. Would you rather the marketing be tailored to developers who are going to build value creating programs and software, or to retail traders who are trying to buy low, sell high?
No, I think the most important kind of marketing is the first one you mentioned. I think we as a community do a really bad job of letting people know about the developments. I mean, we can get really granular about everything. I think we collectively need to do a better job about being like, look at these things that we're doing. Look how much better it is than our competition. That sort of thing.
I mean,
hey, and can you guys drop me down so that other people can come up to speak? I feel like I'm taking a spot.
No, you're good, man.
I don't know how to do that. So this is actually one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot with Humble, is that I think that a lot of people are thinking of marketing as I want to be the most well-known X on Algorand, where I want to be the most well-known DeFi suite in all of finance, not even crypto. Like, I think that we need to expand the TAM to the rest of the world, and not even expand the TAM to the rest of crypto. It's all about thinking bigger and thinking I'm going to change the world when it comes to actually getting the word out. And I can speak for Humble that is where our mindset is now. And I think that everybody should actually have that mindset on Algorand. It's like, don't try to be the biggest on Algorand. Don't try to be the biggest in crypto. Try to be the biggest in finance, or try to be the biggest in gaming. We have the tools, we have the technology, we have the everything. Let's get the passion. Let's get the want. Let's try to take over the world.
So Chris, actually, I cannot say exactly what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks or maybe this month, but we're working with some projects to do some interesting marketing soon. So I'm very curious to see um, how that's going to be taken in by the broader, just not just crypto. I'm talking about like the broader community, like you're saying. Within the Algorand community, I want to see the reaction, but it's going to be interesting to see what kind of reaction this is going to get from normal folks that really don't know much about crypto that are going to be brought into it.
Yeah,
I agree.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, what Chris and Jeff said, it's exactly what I'm thinking. The crypto sphere is so small, and we just need to go for the mass market, and that's why I think Algorand is also targeting like chess and drones, etc., because it's outside of crypto, and that's what we need. We need to bring the people from outside this very microscopic sphere that is crypto.
Yeah, and that's why, like, when I'm thinking about both Humble and Game Jam and now Monarch, and when I talk about TVL, like when he asked me like what's the big thing, like the truth is like we need to actually get the TVL to a point where institutional hedge funds can trade tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars on our platforms without adjusting the prices. Or fluctuating the prices that much, and this is just the mindset that like, I'm not gonna lie to you. This is something that I've really asked myself and really been pushing myself for the last week to 2 weeks of like maybe even like saying 2 billion in the next year is actually thinking too small, and we're building our plan and our roadmap to have multiple billions on our TVL and talking to the right people that have more money than God to make that happen. So like that's the mindset that we need as a fam, as an algo fam. Like we need to get the word out, not to other algo people. We need to get the word out to our brothers, sisters, grandmas, moms, dads that really don't know about crypto, but they understand value. They understand that, if you take your $10, you can actually make, $1 a year, rather than a penny in in the current systems. And people understand that, and that's the conversations that we need to have. And when I say we, I do mean everybody. Like here, this is not the people that actually are part of any groups. This is everybody that is part of this revolution, and we just need to be louder. So let's do this, guys. We can do this.
Exactly. I mean, I convinced my dad to buy Algo, or my stepdad to buy Algo at 24 cents, and now I'm his favorite son. Look at that.
Dude. I think Bilal, definitely great point, Chris. I tried to explain my job to my grandpa, and his main question was just like, why would I do it? And I'm like, it's a cheaper, more efficient, faster, more secure, more lucrative system. And he's just like, what's wrong with the current system? I think when you go to your grandparents, it might be a bit of a hard sell. Even my parents, it's a hard sell. I've been into crypto for a pretty decent chunk of time now, and they still have not even touched it. They just don't trust it. And I think the general perception of it from an outsider's point of view is that it's just unregulated, young degenerate people like throwing money at a wall. I think that's definitely the thing we need to change, is that even though this technology is new, it's legitimate, and it will have actual applications besides just trading. I think the general public also thinks that Bitcoin is just a big pump and dump.
So one
that's
thing
another problem.
I just wanted to say one thing, but I think Bryce has been raising her hand. I think that the point he was making is that the kids, like for example, they don't have this attachment to the dollar or paper money. It's like the next generation will be very comfortable with digital tokens.
Yep.
But like the older generation, they just don't get it. It's like you're conditioned to accept the dollar as the value, like lock. So Bryce, you want to say something?
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to offer kind of an alternative point of view. And I want to start with saying I love Kelly, obviously. And I think she is doing a phenomenal job for a sort of one-man show. and there's only so much you can do as one human. So in the short term, I would love to see that they have an expanded team because, again, Kelly can only do so much as one human. But also, so my job, for example, my 9 to 5 is I run a vertical within one of the biggest publishing groups in the United States. And what I notice is I get somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 pitches per day, press releases, pitches, whatever, from all sorts of different brands. And I started to catalog what the percentage of anything with crypto mentioned in those pitches were. So in the past 6 months, it's jumped about 8%. Now, maybe that doesn't sound like a lot, but obviously 8% from the 6 months before is pretty dramatic. Almost everything is Bitcoin or Ethereum. There's a little bit of Doge in there, but there is nothing, and I mean nothing, coming about Algo at all. Now, on top of that, these are all the press releases that every publisher is getting. I'm not entirely unique. If the release comes to me, it's also going to everyone at Condé Nast and Hearst and, Fox and Turner and all the other publishers. So an example would be, I have a close friend who is a major wine distributor in Northern California. And we were just kind of hanging out talking, and she was like, oh, I don't know what my next cool thing is to make some news. What do I do? So she started accepting Doge for her wine, right? She doesn't know a damn thing about it, and she doesn't even care. She's just looking for a community who cares about Doge to latch onto it and make the news for her. And I think this is a really interesting point. I think there has to be this entire 360 circle of, number one, you're going for the technology and getting all the people who really make the wheels turn there, but you also need the other side of it, which is getting people to know that you exist. Everyone knows Bitcoin exists. Everyone knows Ethereum exists. Everyone knows Doge exists. Nobody even knows what they do if you ask the average schmuck on the street, right? Nobody knows anything about blockchain. They don't even care. They want to make money and they want to feel like they know what's going on in society. And I think there needs to be more of a connection there from the average human who doesn't really want to take the time to look into this, and just kind of the Algo name. That's it. I just wanted to offer kind of the other side.
100% agree with you on that. I think that you have to understand each blockchain has a culture, and Algorand has a very professional academic culture. That's where they came from, and they're going after a very different target market, which is the institutions. But what's happening is because the technology is so easy and fantastic to use, the retail degens are getting into it. They're aping in, as they say. So it's kind of this cultures and emerging cultures that's happening, and we're all very early. So I 100% agree with you. The marketing, I've been talking to them about the marketing. There are things in the pipeline. I hope to help as much as I can. And yeah, I agree with you on all those points.
Another thing is
there is one point that is very important, is that there is marketing for crypto people that want to buy the crypto and to use it. But there is also the marketing for the blockchain applications. And what I've been working on is really to have a use case for, let's say, farmers and general public. We just present the use case and we can prove how good it is, how they can earn a passive income by showing them how it works, and by letting them earn their passive income on their phone so they can see it. I just remember the first day I learned about Algorand. I couldn't believe about the staking. So I bought one algo, I sent it to the wallet, and I waited until this reward came in. Then I was like, wow, this is real. Because to beginners, it's just like magic. How can you earn so much passive income just using an app? What kudos, presenting, what even just the staking, and all the tools are complete magic for usual people. So we need to target them by, I think, to prove them that it works. And when I showed on my phone or on people's phone the benefits, and you can prove it, then it goes very fast. And it's not only about buying the crypto or using the crypto or transacting in crypto, but all the blockchain application that we can bring.
Just to go off from what Bryce was stating earlier, this is something we kind of can relate to, like the early days of the internet, before e-commerce came in. The businesses that were able to, adopt the internet payment method or the internet shopping method are the only ones still alive today. Things like Toys R Us and other companies that did adopt these new ways of shopping and payment didn't make it today. And I almost feel like that would be the same. Like her friend that adopted Dogecoin so early is going to be ahead of the curve from every wine business ahead of time. She's already going to have a crypto commerce and a crypto, native community. And that was the same for all these online communities like Amazon and so forth. And it just takes time and, more education. Because, even when the internet came out, there was zero education from it. It was just kind of thrown at us and we just kind of had to learn it. And it evolved into its own thing.
So one of the things I just want to make sure that I'll let you have in a second, Gil, is that we're doing a good job. And look at so far. So this is possible. And look at how many people are on this chat right now. 4 months ago there was 10, 12 people.
We were lucky to get 3 extra people besides the host.
It was crazy.
So what you guys are doing is working. So keep letting people know, keep tweeting, keep sharing, keep when a new project comes on, follow them, let people know about how great they are. And pretty soon we're going to have thousands of people in these chats because we'll have 1,000 people in the AlgoFam. So don't feel like this is a too big a thing for us to do, because we're doing it. We just got to keep doing it harder, faster, and really let people know why we're doing this. We got this. So Gil, sorry.
Oh, no worries. I just wanted, I think there's an interesting analogy that kind of market maker alluded to there. If you think about how the Toys R Us example, where that's brick and mortar and then internet commerce comes in and it just becomes that much easier. If you want a toy, you just order it on Amazon. I think that the same kind of, it took a little bit before we understood how the efficiencies that creates. I think the same can happen with the current payment system, but then a fully permissionless economy where you don't have that friction, basically. The friction before was driving to go to Toys R Us to get the toy, whereas here the friction is that centralized intermediary that is facilitating the transaction. And I think there's so much value in that, the ability for us to have this trustless economy, and that it's trust that we don't realize is so valuable. If you can fully trust this protocol, then it just unlocks so many opportunities. And I think this year, going back to prediction for 2022, I think broadly investing, there's just going to be a float of value, or just maybe a little more defensive kind of posturing, just based on kind of what the Fed is signaling now and this and that. And I think that we still, what's an interesting thing I've been kind of a trend I've noticed and I agree with, is that while maybe 4 years ago, crypto was more of kind of a diversifier from a risk standpoint in terms of when you're moving into a risk on, risk off environment. But I think with the institutional capital that has flown in, that kind of still has their own thesis about investing and how to invest, we're going to see, I think, a little more correlation with growth stocks and things along those lines. But at the end of the day, it's the float of value this year. I think that we're going to realize that trust is so valuable and super valuable. And putting that trust and having a trustless payment system, I think 2022 theme, I think people are going to realize the value in that. And Algorand is really well positioned to capitalize.
I think one of the things too that things are going to change is around it. Companies in the crypto space have always been uber nerds. We've been focusing on the protocols, making them secure, making sure they're safe. The ones that keep staying around and still building things are going to start caring more and more about user experience and abstracting away a lot of the stuff that us nerds care about, and start asking the question of what is the actual value of this thing, and abstracting away all of the nuance of the advanced users, and putting the fastest, what I like to say is the time to wow. How long does it take from somebody to start and being wowed will get shorter and shorter as us crypto companies care more about user experience, and that's going to be something very important to expand the TAM to the rest of the people.
I agree. That I think going back to your point about like you as a like DeFi founder, like that this next decade, like whoever's user like experience obsessed, like that's going to be the winners. And I think like with this L1, I think you're choosing to build on. I feel like it's going to be amazing.
I think that can also work. It's the user experience for people who are in crypto also currently, like across different blockchains. And I'm not saying that Algo is completely immune to this, but as someone who's more crypto native than the average person, I want a good UI too. So I think with a strong UI that actually has a solid backend, that creates stickiness too. So I think there's, as part of that TAM, it's also the existing crypto ecosystem and investors that can come to Algo.
But also, like, just to add to that, the existing crypto users are like, it's like 10% of the population, and that's like everybody who holds crypto, not even the people who are like actively, on a day-to-day basis handling and using crypto applications.
Maybe 10% of the population hold crypto, but 99% of them hold it in an exchange or and never done anything. Exactly. I mean, like
they got $150 in Coinbase.
If you want to actually be amazed, go and look at the analytics for unique users on, something like Curve on Ethereum, like unique users per month, and it'll blow your mind how many people are actually using these things.
Yeah, is it a high or low ball?
I mean, just look. You'll look at it and go, these aren't real.
Yes, I mean, like that really underscores how important it is to build an application that can compete with current Web 2, right? Like that's what I think you'll start seeing a snowball effect happen when people come to these applications because they're better than Web 2 applications. When somebody builds a social media website that just works better, has new capabilities, stuff that you could never do on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram.
Let's just say that the CEO of a DeFi company could go and knock on door to door and guide people by hand on using the product, and it would measurably increase the number of people that use the product.
Here's a question I want to pose. Most people, when they handle their finances, enjoy that doubled sense of security that a big company has their back. Someone I know recently got, credit card scammed, and they had to call the bank and, get it sorted out, and they got it sorted out. I think when it comes to DeFi, clearly that's just not a thing right now. And if it were, it could go against the ethos of decentralization, your keys, your coins, all that stuff. So how do we approach that issue of giving people agency over their own funds and capital, but also, teaching them that you got to be responsible for it, and it's your own ass on the line, and like you can't expect someone to back you up from a UI perspective.
This is one of the questions that we asked when launching Humble was, where's the help desks? Why do none of these DeFi projects actually have help desks? And so that's what we're going to be doing. We're actually hiring people to actually man help desks with chats where if people have questions, we can guide them on how to actually use it. This is something that it's a no-brainer to me, and it's the direction that we're going for sure.
What about if someone loses funds on Humble, they don't know how to use it, they end up making a mistake? I saw somebody in the AlgoFi chat about a month ago made a swap from some ASA, I think it was Choice, into Stable. There was no Choice stable pool, or if there was, it was extremely small. And they ended up swapping about $1,500 worth of Choice for $1.50 of Stable. How do you address that from a help desk perspective? You can't really help them after that.
Of course you can. Empathy, care, what to do for the next steps. I mean, even if they don't have power to actually do something, you can do, like, the feeling of of losing that much money and not knowing what to do next is way worse than losing that much money and getting some like comfort, getting some guidance.
True.
So there is a like, even if we can't help them, let's, oh, we shouldn't have done that. This is DeFi, but this is why it happened. I have a friend that lost over $200,000 in crypto because of a bonehead mistake. Nothing you can do to actually get it back. He was devastated. That was pretty much all of the money they had in crypto. And but what I did for him was listen to him, kind of like talk to him. He didn't even know why it happened. He's like, all of a sudden, like the coins aren't in my wallet anymore. How did that happen? And he's like, I don't know who to talk to. I don't know where to go. I don't know anything. So being there and being supportive of these things is super important.
I also think it's telling to say, like, I feel like those mistakes are harder to make on Coinbase just because they've seen them so many times and probably gotten so many complaints, right? Like there's going to be room for some development on the front end of those kinds of swaps to let people know that they're about to do something dumb potentially.
Yeah, like the front end should be like, whoa, buddy. This is not the smartest move. If you want to, go for it because decentralization, but you could just send me $1,000,
At least Tiny Man had that 5% slippage warning, right?
Yeah, that's
exactly.
a great step.
Yeah, and the person who talked to me about their mistake problem was they weren't from America, couldn't really read the warning, or just didn't, their native language is not English. So they saw the big red warning, but just didn't pay it enough mind. Sure, it's a bit foolish from them, but these are global protocols, and that's another thing that just like for global inclusivity, we need like we need help desks in multiple languages as well to really like get down to the weeds with people.
Yeah, and this is the other thing that kind of opened my mind too. The only way that you can staff that is if you have a true financial, company that institutions are trading on, so you can actually fund these type of help desks to actually help everybody. So like this is all about my thinking about like, let's go big, let's go bigger, and when we go bigger, I have to think what's even bigger than this.
Yeah, also having just the estimate at the beginning, like Tiny Man in different languages, that helps a lot. And when they added it in on Tiny Man, I felt like, yeah, it's way bigger than some other dexes that have nothing, and we just jump into the water, not knowing if there is water in the pool. But I feel like Web3 is just it's funny because it's like it's starting from nothing, instead of taking advantage of what Web 2 has been doing for years. And just studying Web 2 very well and just trying to make it better using the blockchain in a smart way can just put us, like, bring us so far away.
But
we don't need to
that's the
reinvent the
thing,
wheel.
right? Like, and this is, I'm sure everybody's read, and if you guys addressed this already, I apologize. But with the Moxie post, which was a great post, by the way, I'm sure everybody on here has read it. But what seems to be missing is that disruption from the classic sense, the Clay Christensen sense, is doing one thing better than the prior system where everything else in the prior system is still better. You see what I'm saying? So like the new system, call it Web3 or whatever, is going to be materially worse in almost every way but one thing. But that one thing is so essential that eventually over time it pulls things forward. I think what's happening, and I think the Moxie post really helped kind of flesh it out, is we as Web3 believers or whatever, we haven't uniformly decided what that one thing is, right? Whether it's decentralization, immutability, etc. But we're scattered, and that's what's causing the confusion. And I think we have to lean into the idea that Web 2 arguably did one thing better, that the iPhone did one thing better, all these big disruptive moments, rather than trying to kind of wholesale change things.
So what do you think is a good candidate for that one thing? Do you think it is something like self-sovereignty, or like,
I
banks
think so.
like
Yeah, I think so. And that's kind of the problem, is like we've got this sort of embarrassment of riches, and I'm curious what other people's take on the Moxie piece was, but he sort of systematically dismantled the elements, and there's defensibility to what he posted, and there's also arguments against it. But I think it's really important among this community to look at it, right? Like that's going to be the post that all of us are going to have to, that's going to be thrown in our faces all the time, right? So I don't know. I mean, for me, as a copyright attorney, it's always been kind of the immutability, right? Like that's the job to be done. That someone that creates something can show that, yeah, you know what, I did do this because I believe credit is currency. And I think if you start there, then you can kind of abstract out a lot of other benefits. If you try to kind of boil the ocean and have all of the benefits at once, then it leaves you really vulnerable to exactly the kind of Moxie takedown. And somebody correct me, but he didn't, he wasn't able to kind of cast aspersions on that immutability thing, right? We can talk about how, you can get to NFTs, you can do, it's not really decentralized, whatever, right? To my mind, all of those things are addressable, and that article kind of gave a lot of commentary on maybe what we should be focusing on. But what wasn't dismantled was the immutability. And if you go back to kind of audit trails, currency being credit, to my mind, and again, I'm coming at it with a very specific lens, one of someone that's an advocate for artists and creators and people whose voices have been changed. But that's something that I've been able to kind of build around. And then the rest of the elements are almost kind of extra, right? And then as the society goes, yeah, but your extra, George, is actually my most important thing, then that gets built out too. So I think it's a bit of a, what might be the one thing for me could be different from others, but I do worry that it's going to be a discouraging. Like we're in absolute late stage hype cycle. Like if you guys haven't realized, I'm sure everybody realizes that this is what's happening right now. We're in late stage hype cycle where there's just too many fucking apes. There's too many. Like it's just, we need to kind of have this moment where the people that have been building for a long time just get back to building and stop being such dicks, right? And I love this period of time, and of course, no one, present company excluded. But that's what it seems to me. Like our ego, we've gotten way over our skis. We've like, oh, well, this will solve everything, and we know that's wrong. And I'm sorry to rant, but the thing that resonated with me about the Moxie post was, he's right, and I've been saying this for a couple months now because, and Chris addresses this really, really well. But when we were cooking this shit up, and I'm old enough to have been there when it was being cooked up, interoperability between chains was a sine qua non, like synchronization. And somehow that's gotten lost, right? And now we're all fighting over that, and it's really, really discouraging. So to me, that was the big takeaway. But anyway, sorry, I'll shut up now.
Thanks, George. So the Moxie article, I will second what George said. If you haven't read the Moxie article, please do. Somebody please link to it so people can get to it. He didn't get everything right, but he got enough right for me to agree with him. And the fun part about it is that he is from the other side, and he is giving more of a benefit of doubt than everybody else will. So we like George said, we need to read that and understand that argument, because that's going to be the nicest, most unbiased, at least, argument that you're going to see. But he's completely right. You look at, creating an NFT, you're creating something on a centralized service that you're trusting another server to tell you that it's true, and you don't even confirm that the contract that the other service is communicating with is what the actual the contract that you expected it for in the actual front end. Like, this is like, we are in the world we live in is smoke and mirrors still. It's smoke and mirrors with the we have in our best interest, we're trying to get to the right spot. But the thing that's most worrisome, and he addresses this in our article really well, is that the end user doesn't care. We care because we know better. They do not. And if they do not, and the incentives are not aligned anymore, because it's much easier to build something in a centralized way that scratches the itch that the end user wants, that it's going to incentivize these large companies to continue to build things in a centralized way. And this is why, why Reach is doing what we're doing, is that the key to fix this is to make decentralized development as easy as centralized development. And until that happens, we're going to continuously build, I'm doing air quotes here, decentralized things in a centralized way, because, we'll eventually get to decentralization. But actually, I was having a conversation earlier today with somebody that I've only seen one company, and they're just in the process right now, that started out centralized and transitioned to decentralization, because centralization creates power, power creates money, money corrupts every time. And when you start off in a centralized way, it's very hard to have the decision to switch to decentralization after the fact, because you have so much power. So we need to get to a point where, like I'll say it again, when building decentralized applications is as easy as building centralized applications, you as the creator get to choose what is best for your user. And that is where we need to get to.
That's the point, Chris. Sorry to interrupt. Obviously, I agree robustly, but that's what I was trying to say, and I think you said it more articulately than I. That the end user, they just don't care. I'm tired of saying that. I've been saying forever that we'll know blockchain is adopted when we don't say blockchain. But I think what the end user can care about is something like credit, is something like immutability, is something like whether it's with their healthcare records or with their music copyrights or whatever, right? That's a job to be done that only this technology really wins at, right? The other elements, they'll win too, but over time. And so it goes back to like, what is the job to be done that we're trying to solve with this? Is it really just to create a bunch of NFT art? Like that's not it, right? That's a part of it. And for some of us, a really, really important part. But, I don't think that we've uniformly, maybe we shouldn't, maybe different people should have different jobs to be done. But I would challenge the group to go, okay, so what is the problem that blockchain generally is solving? And for me, I go back to, immutability, right? The rest of it, centralization, it's really hard. And that was the cogent point, as you're saying, Chris, like all the pipes are basically funneled through 2 or 3 different tubes to get to get at a blockchain. That's really problematic. Maybe it becomes unproblematic when we start sharding better. I don't know. But anyway, I'm just echoing what you said.
Yeah, I think one of the best applications that blockchain can easily tackle is I think each person, each user should have their own little centralized hub, and they can access any site from it. I'm tired of going onto a new website and having to create a new account. This is an easy fix that blockchain wallets can solve. I think that's just like a quick way to just make things accessible and get users, new people who don't use crypto wallets, to jump in if they can use that wallet to access a lot of different Web 2 sites instead of having to make a new account, a new password, and a new everything for every single website they go on.
Yeah, I think that's actually an excellent subset of a bigger problem that I think blockchain solves, which is like, what if everybody had access to Google's entire index of the internet, right? Like Google spent decades building this private centralized index of the entire internet. You can search it on their search engine, but nobody could build a competing search engine using their index, right? Or build additional services without their permission. And like that's an excellent example of like what would happen if you had access to Google's entire index, right? Like the blockchain is that index, and everyone has access to it, so people can build, public profiles that work across the entire index, or can build better search engines, build better search applications.
I think also with a blockchain, I don't think we understand what it can do. It's kind of like the internet. Like when it was first invented, we knew it was a great information and data tool. That was given by the looks of it. Just first glance at it. This could be great. But no one knew about e-commerce. No one knew about the video game industry blowing up, like Halo, for instance. The minute they added online multiplayer, Xbox blew up to God knows how much money alone with that. And I think that'll be the same with blockchain. Like we see like, the self-sovereignty, the immutability, and also like, the way to develop credit. But, and also like the NFTs and stuff. But I think with the real use of blockchain, we haven't seen that one thing that's going to spark the interest from the main public.
So I'll get into that for a second about the NFTs particularly, because what we've been doing in certain projects, like we don't have like we were talking about earlier, like there's not on-chain DAOs, but the communities are building trust like within each other, and like it's centralized to start, but progressively like members are taking on roles. The original creators, like the leaders, are delegating tasks. They're like relinquishing unilateral decision making, and people are starting to decide that, hey, like what are we going to do with the IP rights? But that comes back to like the point of strong team, active community. Utility and art are nice, but it's all subjective. And the on-chain utility not being there, like we're basically making bets on projects of like creators being able to like infuse value into the ecosystem. And I think that like one particular project spent $75,000 on something that they're going to use for marketing soon, another NFT, let's say. And I want to see what that's going to do for the Algorand ecosystem, if we're going to get some attention with that. But it's like, that was like 60 people making a decision to purchase something. And that's like, again, that's not on chain, but like we're starting to see the seeds for something that once you guys like onto your points are like, once this gets on chain, it's going to be like a game changer. Even without it right now, we're doing some interesting things.
So one of the things that I want to kind of talk about, that we address with that we said, Jeff, is that there's actually I don't know if you guys remember the game EVE Online. I think it's still being played, but it's a very very open MMO type game. And there's a whole story about somebody that decided that I'm going to steal this entire guild's everything, but I'm going to play the long game. And spent I hope I can find this article.
Midney.
Spent months and months and months gaining trust, getting the right keys, and gaining the trust, and then rugged them. This is rugging before crypto was a thing, or was a big thing. And this is what I worry about the current DAO system, is that it is very susceptible to this. That you're doing everything, you're actually trusting a lot. And when things are off chain and not on chain, you have to. So that'd be my only worry about like the current off chain DAOs. And this is something that I put a lot of thought into once I actually really figured out what NFTs are good for. But now, like knowing that community NFTs are about the community, and that so many NFT creators, Bored Ape Yacht Club, several of the actual Algorand NFTs right now, that it's all about that off-chain community. It's right for somebody to rug pull based off of months and months and months of trust.
The only recourse at this point is like a multi-sig. I mean, that's with like doxed individuals. That's the only like real recourse for communities at this point. But yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
I mean, what's stopping two people from coordinating and saying, "Hey,
right"? So get 7 people, get 10 people, 9 people. I don't know. Yeah, you're right.
So like this is the thing that we need to get to as far as DAOs are concerned, where you can get to a point where it's the trust is too, because you'll never be able to get 100% trustless, but there is a scale of how much trust needs to be for the amount of value in the actual organization. And that's the thing that's I spend a lot of time thinking about as far as organizations go, but we should all think about that, and it also just make sure that we are careful when we are entering these DAOs to understanding what the risk truly is.
One more point about Evan, go ahead.
I was just saying, in some sense, right, Tiny Man was able to reach that, right? Like that nobody could empty their liquidity pools, not even them, right? Like there's some place where you can build these structures on chain such that nobody, even the original creator, and I haven't seen that with an NFT project yet, but like that kind of model I think is achievable.
Yeah, and to Chris's point, I kind of want to ask this question to people. Like I've seen a lot of token distributions go a little bit awry, and like there's the Pareto principle, 20-80-20, whatever. But it's like some people have like this idealistic like thing, like, oh, like let me put like a certain amount in the LP and I'll let everybody pick as much coin as they want. But what ends up happening is like you get like, let's say you get a project off the ground and there's a lot of contribution from people that have very little, I guess, resources within it, but they're contributing at a high level. And then you have people that basically own a lot of the public float, but they don't contribute at all. And there's this kind of like weird dynamic that's been happening in a few communities. And if anybody's like starting like a community coin or ASA, whatever you guys want to say, like I would be very like conscious of how before you launch it, before you put out any coins in the public, like really think about, it's going to start centralized. You're going to distribute at a certain rate and how you're planning for like 5-10 years from now in those tokenomics. So I just wanted to address that. Go ahead.
Well, I think it comes down to like a big thing for me is I need to know who the team is. Like I just really don't like when crypto projects have anonymous founders. It just really screams like vulnerability to me. And I don't think that actually being anonymous as a crypto founder, like I feel like it's performative more than anything, because a savvy hacker can probably find who you are pretty easily. People say I do it for my anonymity. It's really not a thing, I don't think. And I really don't think that's what crypto is about. Maybe Bitcoin's about that, but that's actually in my personal opinion, I don't really think crypto is just about anonymity and like, being able to get a new wallet every 2 minutes and like do all your little transactions. Like, no, it's about the technology that can empower an easier way to use and connect people, or to use capital and connect people. It's not about I'm just a wallet address with a NFT PFP. And I think a lot of people in the algo community are doxxed, and that's a cool thing. But when they aren't, I definitely won't be putting any significant amount of cash in that project, because it's just like Chris said, it's such an easy rug. People are willing to play the long game of months and months of building trust, and then if you don't still know who they are, and it's like, oh, this is OX blah blah blah, like, yeah, they're probably just they have no reason to stick around if they get bored.
Well, with the thing about undoxed teams and doxed teams and stuff like that, we're in a weird place in crypto right now for every team to be doxed, because not every country will allow you to develop and build a decentralized exchange legally. So I know a team, I'm not going to say anything, but they have to remain anonymous just because of legal issues.
Are they in the US?
I am not able to speak about that, unfortunately, but they don't want to release themselves due to the fact that I don't want to dox anything about them, but they just don't want to release anything just because of what they were advised on.
Well, there's an argument to be made against that the people building an app should probably know the legal ramifications of building the app on a blockchain before they build the app and get money on board. They're kind of just digging themselves a hole there that's going to be difficult to get out of. You see people like Chris, he lives in America, he lives in the US, and he's building D apps, and I'm sure he has attorneys and people that he references. And what do you think about that, Chris? Because I feel like if you don't know the whole situation, don't get into it. That just seems pretty simple to me. The reason people would get into it without knowing the whole legal situation is because they probably want to make a quick buck, and they see, okay, I can build this. I know I have the technical expertise. I don't have the legal expertise, but I have the technical expertise to build this. And then I get people to put their money in, and I don't really know what's going to happen in 6 months, but as long as people put their money in month 1, and I can end my vesting by month 6, I don't really care what happens in year 2.
Yeah, I'm about as doxxed as you can possibly get. You can see my face on videos, and pretty much everybody here knows how to actually get a hold of me directly. I think actually many people here actually know where I live. So yeah, I obviously I don't take advantage of the pseudo-anonymity of blockchain, but I also don't believe that is the actual true value. I mean, there is some value there, but every week I'll bring up this paper, some simple economics of blockchain. The true value of blockchain is lowering the cost of verification, and lowering the cost of verification is the actual primary driver of what blockchain can do, and that is where people need to understand and how to apply that value to different industries.
So there you
And
go. There's the key differentiator. That's what I was trying to say. It comes back to credit. It comes back to immutability, right? Because once you get, I mean, the root of all unethical action is lack of transparency. Full stop, right? Every unethical thing throughout society has resulted from a lack of transparency, right? And so I'm not saying that everyone has to be completely, transparent with everything they do, but credit is currency, and over time, that's what wins. Trust, right?
I mean, that being said, I do believe that people have the right to privacy, but people have the right to dox themselves as well. But there's value in doxing yourself. There's a value in identity. And if you want to live without an identity, you have the right to do so. But you lose the value of that identity by choosing not to, show in your identity.
And just because a project's not completely doxed, I mean, you go look at the Olympus DAO. None of the team is doxed. It's an unknown team, and yet that thing has been doing amazing. So, I mean, dox does give
It's only
you.
been alive for like what, 6 months?
But still, it's doing really good.
Sure.
So can we do an OHM fork on Algo? Did somebody ask that the other day or no?
That would be dope.
I'm busy.
I think that in principle, it's a good idea, right? Like, I really like the idea of having a decentralized protocol. I think I like the idea to a state where you don't like the least trustworthy thing about the project is your identity. Like, I feel like I'd prefer that the least trustworthy thing about my project is my personal attachment to it. Like, it should be the project itself. It should be the code itself. It should be the community's usage personally.
With the whole Satoshi being anonymous, it makes complete sense that crypto was founded on the ideals of anonymity. Even though Satoshi wasn't the inventor of blockchain or cryptography, clearly his invention of Bitcoin, did what it did. But I just think like 10 years down the line from that, it's that kind of dark web, shadowy payment system that it was originally used for. I have so many friends who are like, oh yeah, I bought Bitcoin in 2015 to like buy weed on Silk Road. And like, it's like, sure, it might still be used for that now, but a lot of those things that Bitcoin was used for in the past are just, it's easier to track Bitcoin now. The tools have been made. It's just the industry seems to be going away from that secretive, black hat type of thing where people just want to be like, oh, I have my money on chain, and it's like a big secret. Especially with the new layer ones, it's not that difficult probably to track addresses. People could immediately track the tiny man exploiter within like 20 minutes. So I just think that the whole it kind of just seems performative to me. Like I said before, just the whole anonymity thing just seems really performative to me, because anybody who's savvy, or if someone wanted to hire someone to dox the Ohm team, pretty sure they could do it. I'm pretty sure it would be they could easily find them within a few days. So really, what's the point? What's the point? You might as well just be open and transparent, and that will in turn build trust with the general public as more people who are willing to put their reputation on the line start to build things. Because when you're not doxed, you're not putting your reputation on the line. And really, reputation is, if you take away all the money, reputation is what you have at the end of the day.
Strong agree.
Well, it doesn't really matter. I don't know who it was who said that they were representing someone who were not allowed to do a DEX or something because where they lived. I mean, you can registrate whatever entity you want around the world, create your business, be totally transparent. You're just a shareholder. So there's absolutely no reason to be anonymous at all. From where I'm from, if you don't want to show who you are probably not really legit.
Right. That's the point. If you have your entity, whatever.
Okay. I worry that's assuming you're not legit if you're not willing to actually be open. I think that's not fair. I like once again, I believe in transparency and openness, but it's a human right to not be completely open and share everything with everybody. I think that once again, there's value in identity, and people have the right to let people know who they are, and they have the right to not. And I do believe that declaring who you are adds value to a project, but it's 100% not forced. It's not. There's several people out there that would actually probably prefer that the founders don't actually dox themselves. So this is definitely a thing where we need to be clear and not assume that because they're not open that they're evil.
No, I'm not saying they're evil. What I'm saying is that if you are asking investors to participate in whatever you're doing, you need to be open to some extent. You can't be anonymous. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So if you run a public company, you need to be open. If you own a private company, you need to be open. You need to establish a bank account. You have lawyers. You need to do a KYC to some extent. I'm not saying that you need to explore yourself from around the world, but you need to be open. Otherwise, you can't expect people to participate with cash.
Well, so you're using need too often. So you have the choice to do it, and people have the choice to follow you or invest. Like that, like me personally, I wouldn't actually invest in a completely anonymous person, but that doesn't mean other people will. And the market should decide and should be able to decide if they don't care if the founders or the creators or whatever are anonymous or not.
Yeah, with me,
if we frame it as that transparency and ethics can be a competitive advantage, it takes some of the, and I'm not saying anybody on this call is doing it, it takes some of the moralizing out of it, right? And this has nothing with crypto. If you just look at institutions, companies, whatever, countries, the ones that are least transparent tend to get the least amount of outside investment in, right?
Yeah.
And so like you can choose to keep it all. And I agree with Chris. You want to choose to do that? Fine. I'd rather frame it less from a moralizing standpoint and more just from a growth and business opportunity standpoint. And I think it's pretty inarguable that the more transparent you are, the more ethical fiber you have, the lower your transactions are, your higher your impact or your revenue are, right? Whether it's in crypto or governments.
Well, see, for me, like docs developers will definitely get more traction early, as there's naturally a higher level of trust with that. Now, for me, I feel like a product will speak for itself over time. Just because someone doxes himself doesn't make it the best product on the market. And I feel like time and, naturally, just basically time is what's going to really decide, whose product's better or not. But yeah, for the early
But
stages,
that's my point. Sorry, but it's like, so I'm with you. You build something and you do it in whatever shroud of secrecy or transparency you want. If you succeed with that, then it encourages you to be more transparent going forward because you have built that kind of trust level up. Whereas if you build under the cover of darkness, the project itself may be successful, but it will make it much harder for you to start a second one or a third one or whatever because you're starting from scratch all over again. This goes back to the immutability. Look at people's actions over the long term, and that can either be a huge competitive advantage or a negative.
Well, nobody wants to do a failure, obviously. But when you step into being a business entrepreneur, whatever it is, you need, from my perspective, you need to be transparent. Because there is a history that people will investigate doing their due diligence, and 10 years from now, we will know everything that has been going on from this very day and 10 years going forward.
Yeah, I mean, this conversation is amazing because it goes back to the conversation about the ideas. Like, when do we have, will we have a real decentralized idea, or will we still be relying on national ideas with legal
So what we're saying
consequences?
about blockchain is that it is secure, it's decentralized, it's transparent. But some people are anonymous.
I was expecting a different argument. I thought you were Plan B's alter burner account. That's a very interesting point you made.
Mm.
Also,
I think
hey, Crypto Viking, I haven't talked to you in a while. Nice to hear from you again.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think this has been great talk. I think, as I think about anonymity and transparency and how those live in the same environment, and how they, and seemingly from my perspective, are a little bit polar opposites. So then how do you reconcile both coming together? I think Chris often states as well, it's like ultimately everybody has the option and the market will choose which of those two characteristics is most important in terms of investment and adoption.
I agree. But it depends if you have a network. So if it's within this family, right? Somebody's asking, I need to raise X amount of dollars. People would, to some extent, know them, and they might back them. But if it's outsider coming in saying, "Hi, I'm new to ALGO. I want to raise 100 gazillion US dollars, and by the way, nobody can know who I am," would you invest?
No, and I think, the idea of anonymity is also a little bit of a sliding scale, right? Because to be anonymous means different things. If you're anonymous in that you're completely unknown and you're a newcomer, that's a level of anonymity that has no trust built behind it. If you're thinking of anonymity in terms of parts of who you are, parts of your identity are not disclosed, that's different, because you can, I think, as George just talked about, build reputation, build trust, build over time that equity, wherein you are known to the community for your reputation based on your ID, and you've built up trust. So there's still, in terms of a scale of anonymity, one being more anonymous than the other, and in terms of like what is known about that person.
I think another thing is, in the blockchain space, there's also a sliding scale, Brandon, of what is a protocol, what is a tool, and what is a company. And I think like DAOs fall right in that gray area of, what is this? Is this a community tool, or is this like a company that will become decentralized? So in the case of OHM, they might not be docs because they, from their perspective, are saying, this is a tool for the community and it's not our thing. But from another perspective, you can say, you founded it, you created it, you thought of the idea, whatever team it is. And at a certain point, it's important for those people to take responsibility for that. But that's really the philosophical question. And it's a case-by-case basis. What in crypto is like a tool to utilize, like IPFS or something like that, and what is a company?
Yeah, but it all depends on if it's a governance tool, the governance DAO or a token, and or a utility token. So I think the discussion should be, how do we make things transparent, even though you want to be anonymous? So if you want to be anonymous because you are actually employed by somebody and you don't really want to browse yourself, trying to do whatever you were working on, that is fair. But how do we swing that? That's my point.
I ultimately the market will decide, right? It will take some high-profile project, with a rug pull and nobody knowing who it will, and then things are so competitive right now that there are two versions of everything popping up.
They are not competitive. This is very, 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 very small. I mean, it's tiny, tiny, tiny. In 23, 24, 25, it will explode. Maybe in 22. but it is very, very tiny community right now. So all the things that we are discussing in this community, I love that, by the way, we need to address those issues because that will be massive in 23, 24, 25 going forward.
Yeah, I was talking about, that's a great point. I was talking about the music industry with some friends recently, some musician friends, and we were kind of lamenting about how 5 companies or so own about 95% of the publishing rights in the music industry. And then we were thinking of, what industries that don't have monopolies. And the one I thought of obviously was crypto. There's no monopolies in crypto right now. No company, no coin, no protocol has really solidified itself as like a monopolistic force. I think that's why this industry has so much open ground right now.
It's early days, right? And as industries mature, they tend to converge and monopolize. I would encourage us all. I mean, what's being said is right, but I can tell you, transparency does not equal good action, right? You can look at any number of countries, businesses, etc., that are somewhat transparent and are really, really bad actors. The music industry is maybe the worst offender. I mean, what Spotify does to artists right in the light of day on a daily basis is to me unconscionable, right? The problem with it is that the majority of the people that are consumers of their product don't have, nor maybe should they have, the foggiest idea of what's going on behind it. So, but the information's out there. They're a public company. They file their reports. So it's about incentives and then leveraging that transparency for some kind of greater good. Who determines that? I guess ultimately the market. But if we're going to say that we're decentralized, then at least allows for the opportunity for people to say, well, no, this is valuable to me. I teach a college ethics class, right? I can't teach the students to be ethical. That unless you're a fascist, you can't do that. But what you can do is try to show competitive advantage through transparency and through ethics, period. And I think that's what this community, the crypto community at large, I'd love to see galvanized around that more. And I think we take a step backwards every time there are these just kind of emphasis on the lack of transparency. I don't see how that helps us.
So you're saying we should it's not really about if a team is transparent or not?
It's a decision that the team should be looking at transparency across a spectrum, right? As humans do. And then they should see, hopefully, my argument is not that transparency is innately or axiomatically good or bad. It's more about how do we try to put forward the information that will give us the credit as currency to continue to build. And aspirationally, one hopes that's something that's bigger than just building for ourselves. But that's the root of this, right? Ultimately, you're talking about selflessness or selfishness, right? Is this about trying to build something that's just for us individuals to enrich us, or are we trying to do something that's bigger than that? Ethics is about interoperability, right? Ethics are different from morals. Morals is, well, my God tells me to do X, Y, or Z. Ethics is about how can we create a community that has a greater good for more people. We don't have better than that, right? Like you can go back and read every philosopher in the world. That's what it kind of comes down to. And we have to decide. For me, I got interested in this because I thought it could help more artists create sustainable careers on their own terms. Full stop. It's just a tool, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Bilal, being a philosophy teacher yourself, what are your thoughts on George's point? Like, it's all about community, and I don't know. I would love to hear someone expand upon that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree about everything George said. It's to me, like, what brought me to blockchain is literally the question of domination. How do some people dominate other people? And I was brought to the question of money from antiquity, how money is used to control and dominate masses. So I feel like this is happening in a small scale for every crypto, every project. It's literally like building a small central bank. Every project is like a small central bank, and the way we build it to try to make it like fair and just, that's really what got me interested in like this field in general and creating fame token, the fame token too. And it's really about how technology can fight inequality in the long term. Like as George said about musicians, how technology can help like the art industry to give back more to artists instead of like big centralized entities. But I think in every field we have with the blockchain, with many fields in the blockchain, we have a way to uh, empower the disenfranchised and the powerless people.
That's it, right? And to use these tools to measure efficacy, right? I did a project some time ago called The Song That Owns Itself, where we got a great band to assign their rights to the song over to a DAO. Then we set up a bunch of experiments around KPIs that would see what people would do that would be what the song wants. What does the song want? The song wants to be heard, not necessarily by the maximum amount of people, but by the quote right number of people. Who are the right people? People that are predisposed to net promote, people who are predisposed to tell others. And so then you can measure it, and then you can reward the actual good actors and get rid of the rent seekers around a coordinated effort to drive something forward. You can set that hypothesis. You can set a hypothesis that we believe that more people hearing this song is a good thing for society if it's the right people, because art equals empathy. You don't have to believe that hypothesis, but you can set it. And then you can say, so how do we get there? Is it through record labels? Will they do the job? Maybe, sometimes, usually not. Is it through publicists? Almost never. Is it through music supervisors? More often than you'd think. Is it through the fans? Almost always. Think about every one of your favorite books, songs, paintings, restaurants. You did not learn about them from a publicist or an ad campaign. You learned about them from a friend. And so when you can coordinate incentives around that, that's how you kind of get it to community. And then the community can go, we believe that this is ethically good for us because it benefits us all in some way, not in a binary zero-sum way, right? And so the tools that we have here allow us to kind of see that, and also allows us to see the people who've been masquerading as doing things that are good for art or community or whatever, showing that they've got no clothes. They haven't done anything. It's just become institutionalized so that we just kind of believe it and accept it. This allows people to force it to prove it. And that's what I mean about credit. Like over time, you can show that your work has created value, right? And you can define value how you want. But within some subset of a community, that proof over time then gives you access to capital, access to resources, connections, etc. This has nothing to do with blockchain. All blockchain does is allow us to measure it and hopefully keep the measurements immutable.
Okay, George, I totally disagree to that. I have been
Love it. Yes, thank you. Finally.
I've been involved with the music business for more than 25 years, and I was a part of writing the music streaming deals that Spotify and Apple and Deezer, whoever, is running today. Now, the major problem with music and publishing, collecting society, is that we have all these various companies participating, taking a cut of everything that is going on, right? With blockchain, we have the potential, or an artist has the potential to release a song that is being played wherever, that is receiving funds immediately into his wallet. That needs to be solved.
How in the
When that
world
is
do you
solved,
think we're disagreeing? That's literally what I did with The Song That Owns Itself. And before blockchain, that's what I did when I founded TuneCore, and I've ended up paying out over $1 billion to artists. So I've been doing this for 30 years, and I think we're in violent agreement, not disagreement.
okay. Well, fair enough.
Hey,
Fair enough.
hey everybody. This is Chris. Twitter tried to kick me out, but I came back as a different account. The thing that I really believe is that what blockchain does is to kind of hit both on what both of you, Crypto Viking and George, talked about, is that what blockchain does is, once again, it removes or lowers the cost of verification. What that really means is that there's large industries that exist with multiple layers of middlemen for that layer of verification. And what this does is it by decreasing the cost of verification, it removes entire industries or entire middlemen, and allows for the end user and the creator to be able to not lose as much value as it does previously.
It's halfway there, Chris, right? So yes, it can disintermediate. Disintermediation began in the music industry with Pro Tools in the 1990s, right? It's not just about disintermediation of rent seekers or free riders or whatever. It's also about rewarding those that are intermediaries that actually benefit. It is unfair to artists to say, okay, artist, now you need to not only be a painter, but you need to run your own gallery. Now you need to not only be an excellent musician, but you need to run your own record label. You cannot do both as well at the same time, right? And so it's wrong. And Berkeley does a shitty job at this of telling artists, well, now you got to go do everything yourself. Wrong. But you need to identify who the people in the value chain are that are actually creating value. And that's, so it's not just taking away, it's making sure that we measure who is in between the creator and the consumer and reward them properly.
And that is really about programmable money, smart contracts. We can actually predefine who is participating, and I know that there can be like 50 people involved in one track, one band, one album, and they all need their fair share. But
how do we know what the fair share is? And again, that's what the song that owns itself
well,
does.
you're a lawyer, so you would have to negotiate that. But
no, you want to leave it to the lawyers to negotiate?
No, I don't want that. But a fair share is, so we have one track. Right now, it's worth nothing, and if it becomes a top 100 track worldwide, it will be worth quite a lot.
I'm begging you to read the song that owns itself white paper, right?
Yeah,
We're saying the same thing.
Send it to me then.
I'm asking to reevaluate the stack,
okay.
Right? To reevaluate them. I could, as a lawyer, I can promise you, you do not want lawyers determining what the fair percentages are.
Oh,
right?
I've had my fair share of lawyers
I'm sure
over the
you
last
have.
20 years. Yeah, so I know how it is. But if that can be solved, and this is just an example. This is just music. Everything that people create, software, games, whatever.
Sure.
We have the opportunity to program everything today, so everyone gets a fair share.
But you keep saying fair and program. That's human, right? So now you've got judgment. And what I'm arguing for is empirical data. I'm arguing to say, let's look at activity out in the ecosystem and then reward post hoc, right? Not anticipate it. We don't know. It's the same argument I get around with standards. It's like, what do they call them? Passive desire. Stop paving the road before you know how people are going to walk. Once people walk on it, then pave it, right? And forever, and it's typically white males that think this way. Oh, we know how people are going to walk between buildings, so we're going to pave it that way, irrespective of how efficient or not it is. We now have an opportunity when things are on chain to see where the value is created, reward those people. And we're doing it. Look, I mean, I'll be very public. That's what Dequency is about. We've started up a on-chain music licensing service, and we're going to. Spotify's completely jujitsu'd the motherfucker, right? Spotify said, pay us $15 a month, make us playlists. We will then take that data and use that to tune our algorithms. Like, what about that is right? We want to take the curators and go, you think you're a music expert? Great. Create a playlist. If that playlist gets licensed or whatever, we'll give you some tokens, right? Like, that's how you start rewarding the value chain, not assuming. Well, I'm sitting here playing replacement songs on my guitar. I've been playing forever. I think I'm a pretty good guitar player. Who the fuck cares, right? I ran the world's largest independent record label. For a while there, I got to pick and choose who got signed. That is such horseshit. You know who doesn't know anything about who should get signed to a record label? Record executives. They masquerade on it. And if you're a broken fucking clock twice, a day, you can. I worked with Chris Blackwell for many years. You sign U2, you can sign a billion artists no one has ever heard of, and you're still considered a genius, right?
But that will disappear due to blockchain. Isn't that awesome?
Maybe, but only if we think about it from the perspective of actually creating a set of rails that allow us to have visibility and onboard people that right now just the idea of creating an NFT is not possible.
Okay,
Go
so
to other parts of Africa, right? We're not distributing well at all. We're not talking enough about it.
Fair enough. But if I play a guitar or I can sing a song and I publish my song, today I would do that on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever social media I have, because I require an audience who can actually choose if I'm good or if I'm not that good.
My point is that you don't require an audience. You require a most passionate percentile.
Of course, you need an audience. So, if you don't have an audience, nobody will ever listen to you.
Having an audience and not being able to identify who the most passionate in the Pareto are that are actually net promoting is non-value adding, and none of the services that you just outlined do that. YouTube, whatever, they don't allow you to do that. You've got to own that relationship, be able to see who these people are. I'd way rather have 50 most passionate fans that are actually net promoting and telling 3 people than have 50 million listens on Spotify because of some algorithm, because I got in, Friday, whatever, discovery playlist. It doesn't add value. That's my point. So again, I think we're in agreement, but I think getting granular on these details is really important.
I think that that this might be the first AlgoFam chat that I don't win the award for most passionate speaker.
I think it is one of the most ever, actually. Like, I love it. But
yeah, but the thing is, the technology we are all passionate about has the potential to solve a lot of problems. And I'm pretty sure that George and I can be debating for the next 20, 40, 48 hours or 48 years. But we have a common goal, and that is to
from an outsider listening. You guys are just saying the same thing, but one of you decides you want to say it more passionate.
Yeah, well, yeah, agreed.
I love that.
But it doesn't really matter. But the fact is, the point is that blockchain technology has the potential to change all this.
I'm with you. I think where I'm trying to most passionately say this is, you keep saying it, and please take this with no disrespect, but you keep saying it in generalities, and what I keep saying is, yeah, of course you're right. We need to move away from talking about what that is to actually building things so that we can bear that out. That's
but I wrote the fucking contracts of music streaming, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well,
and
okay, I probably negotiated with them. What have you built on the blockchain to obviate that?
Oh, we have AlgoDesk, we have FundStack, we have a lot of things coming.
Yeah, Thomas has built a lot, actually.
I'm not. There's no. I'm trying to get to the same place. I'm flaunting my ignorance on purpose here. I'm not doing this in an ad hominem accusatory way.
Josh, we are on the same page, and we
we're all
hook up
building.
because I think this will be a different debate, and not for this space, because we have a lot of people here today.
Yeah, dead right.
What I love about this debate that you just had, it wasn't really a debate because you were saying like the same things.
Yeah,
but I think just culturally, Thomas.
The thing is, music contracts were written in 1929, and they are still the same. It's more than 100 years ago. We're still using the same legal terms. Artists are still getting fucked every single fucking day. It's mind-blowing.
Here's my question,
Thomas,
real quick.
Just one thing. Yeah. Just one thing. I think, Thomas, even though you agree with your with George, etc., you still start your sentence with but you still say the same thing, because you are leading exactly the same fight together. It's funny to hear you it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, but it's late here where I am. That's
the no, I think it's cultural. Like you are in Europe, right? Where are you from?
I'm
Yeah, I think there's a culture in Europe to start the sentences by "but," even though we agree. And US are like a bit more like diplomatic, I guess. But it's funny.
No
It's so
one's
interesting.
ever accused me of being diplomatic, my friend.
You have been.
I'm trying. I'm trying to
Yeah,
get
but
better. My therapist is helping.
Bilal, when you used to negotiate with U.S. attorneys, there's always a but and a backdoor.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's my quick question. As a musician, let's say I use one of these Web3 music platforms to release music.
Yeah.
Will that music go to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, TikTok, YouTube, etc.? Will it still hit those markets and it'll just cut out middlemen to pay the end artist more? Or will there not, is it more difficult to establish those bridges and those partnerships to those mainstream Web2 platforms? And will the Web3 platforms have to, will artists using the new Web3 platforms for music have to create their own audiences just exclusively on that platform?
So
Yeah.
watch
Well,
this space. Watch this space in the next, month or so. Hopefully, there'll be some announcements. I hate to be a dick like that, but second, I did this right. So with the song that owns itself, hang on. With the song that owns itself, we did put the song up on Spotify. Right now, obviously, you can't do that on chain. So now you've got to set up an escrow account where whenever Spotify gets around to paying based on whatever metrics they decide is good for them on that day. It goes into an escrow account, then it gets converted into something that can be on chain. It goes into the DAO and it gets spit out. Obviously, that's a wildly ineffective system right now. But unless and until we can do payments in crypto and measure on crypto, we're always going to have that intermediary. I am aggressively working to change that, but that's the case right now.
just to chip in, so collecting societies is when music is played in the radio, on streaming services, or wherever they're played, they do payouts every half year to artists. Now, my point is that should be every single second to artists. So basically, if I were an artist, I would be creating a song, I would uploading to my preferred streaming services or whatever, and I could go to bed, wake up in the morning, and I could have made $1 million. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I mean,
It
yeah, of
depends on what
course.
matters. It depends on. I don't want to make $1 million with my music. I want my music to be heard by more people who care about it, and then have it have some impact. To me, if you narrow it down purely to the pecuniary, then you're just commoditizing it, and that's what's been at the root of this. You go back to the 1930s and piano rolls and mechanical licenses. Commoditizing art is a really, really dangerous thing.
Yeah, but I'm on the business side, George. So I'm not an artist.
You got to look at my background, man.
I'm looking at the potential in
too.
revenue
Okay,
streams.
I've created hundreds of millions of dollars of value in the music industry. I'm on the business side too, but first and foremost, I'm on the artist side.
Yeah, but if you have a lot of listeners, you would make a ton of dollars.
Maybe.
No, maybe.
Yes,
you would
maybe.
be goddamn making tons of dollars because people would listen to your tracks.
I'm not sure that you understand the economics of some of the streaming service or the DSPs. You just mentioned the performance rights societies. There are a lot of artists out there that have big fan bases that never get any radio play, so therefore they're getting very little performance rights royalties, right? And there are a lot of artists out there that make the majority of their money from live shows. Well, guess what they're not making any money on during COVID? Live shows, right? So it's not, you're making it very, you're doing that thing that I don't like when people do. You're saying that there's like one kind of monolithic music industry. That's just wrong. There's what the public conceives of, which is like 0.01%. It's Spotify, the major labels, and a handful of artists. There is this vast array of artists out there where none of that matters. And I would invite you very humbly to come to Berkeley and talk to some of these students and look them in the eyes and see what they're in music for. And I can promise you it's not just or even only about the money.
I totally agree.
Okay,
I totally agree on that.
Great.
But I'm looking at the various. I have been investigating this for many years, and there are tons of revenue streams, tons of potential revenue streams. What I'm saying is that if you own the master right, let's call it an NFT in this space. if you own the master right, whatever is going on with your master right, you should get paid, right? And
if you want, right? You might say, I don't want the money. What I want is for you to spread this to 3 or 4 people, so that more. So I'm just trying to move it away from just going back to the money. It's about the community. If you're an artist that is able to organize a large scale community and attract and retain fans, eventually that will manifest into sustainability. If you start from that, your chances of succeeding, in my experience, are very small. It's
Okay,
about
I
building
agree.
the community first. Okay, great.
I think we're on the same page here.
I agree with you both, but I agree more.
Thanks for
I
that.
assume that was a joke. I've got to run. I love these Sunday things, but I got to get to band practice. So I'm going to go to a stinky basement and play loud rock music. And I hope you all have as beautiful of a time as I'm going to making art. So I love you all.
All right.
Thank you so much, George.
Thank you.
Whew, that was hard.
That was awesome.
I think you guys really agree, though. I think it's more about the starting point, and I think George is coming from a place of a protective place, which is good because he understands the art side, but has moved to the business side. And like, I think it's important to have like people like him who are early that will always have the artist's best intentions at mind. Not saying you don't.
I agree.
Thanks for talking.
Here's the thing.
In a phone booth, yeah.
Here's the thing, right? There's multiple ways for an artist to reach that end goal of having a large audience and being able to pack out a show. That's the dream that every musician has, basically. There's two ways. There's multiple ways, but two of the ways are, one, you make a lot of money and then you can sponsor marketing, you can sponsor shows, you can buy merch, you can do all this stuff. Then at that point, money isn't an issue for you and you can go and enjoy your career and build a career kind of hassle-free. The other way is to start with the audience and then, like George was saying, go for the money, and the money will come down the line once you've established the audience. And it sounds like Thomas, you're kind of advocating for the first one. Let the artist drop a song, let them get paid more upfront, that and help them compound and grow over time, afford better music videos, better equipment, better marketing, better team, all that stuff, better band. And George is saying, okay, let's get the systems going where it's not about getting money first, it's about growing the audience. So I think they're both valid. It's just each artist will have to decide what they want to do. And it's a really tough decision because every artist has a different way of approaching how they market their music, and some are very good at marketing, some are not, and that's those are big factors as well.
Yeah, but I think I agree. I think so you have a friend, he has a band, you were invited for beers, listen to the band, you kind of like what is going on, so you are 6 people. You invite your friends, now you're 20 people and 50 people and 100 people and 1,000 people. Now, if you could back them, the band, with tokens, we need to do a recording of a single. We need a real master. The cost is like, $1,000. We don't have $1,000. And you could back them participating in their potential success. That would be a potential community-driven music label. Do you understand?
Yeah, for sure. It sounds a bit like what Opulus is doing, though, if Opulus could bring it to a grassroots level and let everyone participate.
Yeah, and that's what I believe in.
Yeah, those are big projects right now being built. It's already being built by, I've heard of like 3 or 4 projects, exactly that type of model.
Yeah, tons. I mean, so much is going on right now in the music space. So it was not about discussing music in this space today. It was just interesting to hear this guy talking about music. But again, the blockchain has the potential to change everything, and that's what I think we need to keep focusing on. It doesn't really matter what the value of an algo is. I mean, one algo is one algo. Unless you want to sell it tomorrow, then you should probably not do that. But it is about creating an ecosystem of valued services that has the potential to change something, whatever that something is. That's my point.
Yeah, I
Okay.
totally agree. I think we all
I'll let you
agree
get going.
on that perspective.
Great talk today, though, everyone. I wish I could
Thank
stay
you so
longer.
much. Yeah, you were disconnected for a while.
I know.
Maybe there are some Twitter problems, but
Well,
thank you
Chris
so
decided to be anonymous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Twitter decides when they don't want to hear from me anymore. So just blocks me and then doesn't let me come back in.
Yeah, the new CEO is listening in on the call, and he's like, he's kind
Oh
of
man,
taking a good amount of the
cut
airtime.
him,
Let's
cut
shut
him,
him up.
cut him.
It's been a great talk though. We could wrap here unless anyone else has to chime in. Anyone else want to come up for a few last comments?
Yeah, I think
I've
it's
loved the
good to
conversation.
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I love the conversation and some of the deep thoughts that we get into, and even when there's either similarities or discussions, and there's just slightly different perspectives, I think it makes a difference.
It does indeed. And by the way, did I mention that we are launching a launchpad shortly?
No, you did not.
Ah, I'm sorry.
Fantastic.
Tell us about it.
No, obviously I can't because we haven't launched. Yeah, well, since Bilal is pressing me so much, we will be launching FundStack, which is a launchpad. The purpose is to help the community getting funded. It helps investors to participate in funding crazy projects and exciting things that could be going on in Algorand. And we are currently testing it. Everything is working, and we will be releasing it shortly on beta.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You should come back. You should come back next week to tell us more about it.
Yeah,
I will come back next week, Bilal.
Awesome.
Can I talk about something that's not allowed to be talked about real quick? I'm going to say that there's something called 5636. It was about a $75,000 marketing ploy that a certain project is working on. So stay tuned for that next week.
Ooh. So it will be an
Great.
exciting week.
Yeah,
All right,
I love this chat because like builders are coming here. We are all about building tools, and that's what I like about it. It's how we can all come together to help each other to build better tools and to connect them together, and to have a great and strong ecosystem that works together.
Exactly.
It's everything. It's amazing.
yeah, it's great. It's great. It's wonderful to have more people coming in every week. Amazing perspectives. It's great when we disagree too, because that's when the real sparks start to fly, and the real people we have to consider our positions and back them up, and that's really healthy. That's exactly what we need to become smarter and better people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, guys, have a nice Sunday evening, morning, wherever you are on the planet. I will chip out right now, and I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Take care, my
See you
friend.
soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
All right, y'all. So it's been a great talk. This is recorded if you missed any of the early parts. And yeah, like he said, wishing everyone a great Sunday. Stay tuned for more news coming throughout the week. And yeah, this it's been AlgoFam chat, January 9th, 2022. Let's get it going.
Thanks,
I
my
do got
friends.
a question for y'all.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking to see what does Algorand have comparative to like Art Blocks or artblocks.io, which is on Ethereum, or like FX Hash, which is on Tezos. Like, are there any generative platforms out there?
Actually, yeah. The Coffee Bean DAO, that's one of the projects that we want to get done. Is we want to build that infrastructure for artists to have generative art, generated upon mint. So yeah, I would say check out Coffee Bean DAO. You'll probably join the Discord and ask about it. It's a great community.
Maybe GC has a question. Hi, GC.
Hello, hi guys. I don't mean to be rude. I just come in late, and I just want to share. I'm not shilling, but I just want to share that I have officially received a grant from Algorand Foundation to build a bridge, and
Oh,
Wow.
hell yeah.
so
Congrats.
I'm just sharing, just so nothing much, and we are still programming and coding and busy coding. We're not ready for the public yet, but it's gonna be like something like uh wormhole for Solana, but I will say that wormhole for Algorand. So stay tuned, follow me, and I'll come back whenever we're ready yet. All right.
Hell yeah, man. Let's go. That's awesome.
So
Can
That's
you
great.
say
yeah, go ahead.
which chains will you want to bridge to?
Under right now, the grants allow us to do Ethereum to Algorand and Polygon to Algorand, and whether it's centralized, decentralized, it doesn't matter. What's more important is your secure asset is more important. So as for now, we are just going to the test. If you go to Algorand Explorer, we are in the test Algorand Explorer as well as Ropsten in Ethereum. So we are busily uh, doing that right now. The name of the bridge is called Zero Bridge, and we have plans that it will be zero fees, so no fees for you guys, and that's all I can disclose for now. But we're just not ready yet, so I'm just sharing for the community. Since you guys are algo maxis or algo lovers or whatever, but yeah, just saying that we received a grant from the Algorand Foundation. After that, it will be on our own. So stay
Thank you
tuned.
so much. That's an
Congratulations.
amazing news. But you know, like we are maxis, but we already know. We also know that we definitely need.
Did we lose Bilal?
Yeah, you did. We
I
did.
think what he was gonna say, he might come back, but what he was gonna say is that people in this chat definitely we enjoy Algorand and probably everyone has some Algorand here, but we know that cooperation's key and bridges are going to be such an important thing that that any bridge project is it's really exciting news. So congratulations, man.
We hear you, and we listen to the community. As for now, all I can say is stay tuned. We're not tiny man. Don't worry. Just follow me, and I'm 24/7. Feel free to ask me any questions. I'll be there for you, each one, every one of you. And we are busy building the bridge and going to the testnet this month. After that, we will just do our raise and stuff like that. So you hear from the public of the news like CoinDesk, Cointelegraph, and so on. So meanwhile, just follow me and stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
You can come
Thank you.
back any Sunday to talk about it, but be careful what you say about Tiny Man.
Great to hear about
I'm
the
just
bridge.
I'm just saying that we'll be very careful about the security and everything, and before we release to the public. As now we are not ready yet. We're just a small team, different nationality, different countries, trying to build this and make sure is in future will be fully decentralized. But as for now, we hear you because there's a lot of centralized systems and exchanges. You can't just swap the asset to another. So right now, it's just that I'm just spreading out the gospels that I'm one of the grant recipient to Algorand Foundation from Algorand Foundation. So we are busy building.
Why?
The only way you
Really?
can do is just follow us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, my friends. It's been 2 hours. Like, that's amazing. And just come in, join in, ask questions, bring your comments. We all need to talk more together to be more a stronger community. And I think that's what's happening over the months. And thank you so much, my friends. See you
No
next
problem.
Sunday, same time.
Yeah, thank you so
Thanks,
much,
guys.
Paul.
See you next week.